What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Chasing 100 Now podcast. Now, today we're going to talk about a very hot topic that's very common, sadly, nowadays in 2025 is cancel culture. We're going to break it down, problems, solutions, everything today on the episode. So, Shaq, how do you define cancel culture?
The definition of cancel culture is the act of withdrawing support for a person because of an action that they consider objectionable.
Objectionable. An action that's objectionable.
That's what it says.
So that makes me laugh. You know why? Because there's 8 billion people in the world, Shaq. And there's almost 200 countries. I mean, my perspective compared to 8 billion other perspectives, I'm obviously going to find something objectionable in every single human being.
So I'm guessing you don't like cancel culture.
Of course not. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's honestly, it's just kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, the way you defined it, an objectionable action. I mean, who in the world hasn't done something that's objectionable to someone else in the world? You see what I'm saying? It's kind of bananas. It's absurd.
Yeah, that's why we're talking about what a terrible thing it is.
So, Shaq, what are some of the problems that cancel culture causes?
Well, number one, it ruins people's lives. Let's take an example that we all know about. Johnny Depp, right? He was canceled because he supposedly did all these horrible things to his wife at the time, Amber Heard. And he lost contracts, he lost movies. I mean, he was basically persona non grata everywhere.
Everyone thought he was a piece of shit.
Everyone thought he was a piece of shit. Then it came out during the trial that most of the stuff she said was lies. And there was no real penalty for it either, right? And that's the problem with cancel culture. You can make up whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be truthful, and people can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's huge. And it ruins a reputation maybe forever.
Forever. Trust me, there are people out there who still think Johnny Depp is a piece of garbage from that stuff.
Yeah, because they didn't see the other side.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, what else?
So it ruins people's careers, their family. Because look, when you cancel someone, what happens to their son, their daughter, their wife? They get constantly bombarded with this criticism also.
A lot of people don't think about that.
They never
They
think
just see a celebrity, whatever, and they'll forward right away like, oh, look at this piece of garbage. But hey, that guy or that woman has a husband. That woman has children. Like,
So
we don't even think about anything.
In fact, if anything,
It's like inhumane.
the celebrity is more protected than their son or daughter, especially kids. They go to school, right? And kids are horrible. They're not protected at all. So you're actually not hurting the celebrity as much as you're hurting the actual children, wife, and whoever else is it.
That's a good point. And you mentioned businesses, right?
Businesses, yeah. So if we're canceling a business, people get encouraged to write fake Google reviews of a place they've never even been to, right? And when this happens, at the very least, these businesses will lose a lot of income. Worst case scenario, they go out of business.
I actually have an example of that. There was 2 people I know, without going into detail.
Sure.
They were related, right? Something happened, boyfriends, whatever, right? So one person was really mad at the other person. So they were both managers of stores. So this person had a bunch of her friends write bad reviews for this person's store. Basically.
Are we in high school?
I mean, but that's where cancel culture leads, right? We literally want to cancel someone, like without even thinking about the repercussions or the karma, the bad karma that we're building for ourselves, right? Yeah. Another thing, Shaq, is that we call it cancel culture for a reason, because it creates a culture, right? And the culture that it creates is horrible. It's not even a cancel culture, it's a gossip culture. Yeah. And gossip, according to every traditional faith around the world, is a bad thing, right? Every wise man throughout history, the Buddha, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Muhammad, peace be upon him, everyone, right? They all taught the same thing. When you get bad news about someone, don't share the news. Exactly. Right. Cover people's mistakes. Cover their sins. Don't share that. It's a sin. And why is it a sin? Because it creates a poor culture. Everyone now just thinks it's cool to talk about each other. And that creates a trust. It creates a culture that there's no trust. And you see it today, bro.
There is no trust.
In the US in 2025, where I live, right? I live in a complex. So there's people walking in and out, all the time. The amount of people that don't say hi, walking down the corridor of your building, it's incredible. But why? Because of all this cancel culture, this lack of trust that it's created. And so the whole issue that I have with cancel culture is because it's creating a shitty culture, an immoral culture.
Yeah. Well, not only that, people get canceled for something they said 10 years ago.
That's so true.
They might not even believe it anymore, but it doesn't matter.
True. Right? Or they're just caught in a bad moment.
Yeah.
Right? Bro, if people, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I want you guys to be honest too, really. if I'm in some WhatsApp groups.
Sure.
Okay? Like a lot of you guys. We talk trash.
Right. Is this locker room talk?
Yeah, it's locker room talk, right? It's guys, it's old school friends, right? So we talk trash, we joke around, we say some stuff that I can't imagine. If it was a screenshot and if it was put on around the world, hey, this is who Adnan is, right? Based on a joke without any context or anything, right? None of us would trust anyone, right? No one would trust anyone. It's a moment, right? We all have these bad moments, or even just joking around or whatever, right? And so, yeah, we got to stop that, man.
So the problem with cancel culture is the people who are doing the canceling, they claim they're doing this to bring about change. But you're not bringing about change by silencing everybody. If you really want to bring about change, what you do is you open up freedom of speech. You let people express their opinions, then you debate them about it. That would actually bring up change, but you're just silencing people because they're afraid of getting canceled.
Yeah. You just kind of label them right away.
Right away. So now let's talk about solutions to cancel culture.
Okay, so the first thing that I can think of is something that we teach in conflict resolution, which is harden the problem, soften the person. Okay, so what that means is the real issue isn't the person, it's the problem. Right? It's the bad behavior. It's the mistake that they made. That's the problem, right? But what we do is we focus on the person. We attack the person. We cancel the person. We say, oh, he's a terrible person. This person could have done a million good things in their life, right? But we're focusing on one incident and we're not even talking about the actual problem. What the behavior, the wrong behavior that happened. Not the person, right? So harden the problem, the behavior, and soften the person, meaning take it easy on the person, focus on the problem. What's the behavior, right? So I think that's what we teach in terms of resolving problems in companies when two people are not seeing eye to eye.
That makes sense.
Right? And so I think it applies really well in cancel culture. Right. Instead of canceling people, we focus on the bad behavior. How can we be a society that doesn't behave like this?
Yeah, so look, another solution, I think, is we need to stop canceling things unless you've personally witnessed something egregious. If someone tells you something, do not pass on this news, even if it's true. Please don't. Okay? Like, take Socrates' advice. Number 1, is it true? Number 2, is it kind? And number 3, is it necessary? Almost never is it all three things. Now, there are extreme examples.
Or it's really egregious, like
something really egregious or an extreme example. For example, we're talking about if someone is going to get into a marriage with somebody and you absolutely know this is a hard fact, then religiously it's your duty to say something. Yeah. Or if someone is starting a business with someone who you actually know has ripped someone off, for example, then, but these are very minute cases. Let me tell you, anyone doing canceling is never this situation. Yeah, it never is this situation, right? It's always fake outrage and something to boost their own self-esteem without who they hurt in the process. And remember, guys, karma, or whatever you want to call it, is a very real thing. It's very real.
Real thing. You destroy people's lives, guess what? You're going to be a pretty miserable person. Yeah. So, Shaq, I'm sorry. I know you already said this, but I want to ask you, give me the advice of Socrates again. So he said,
He said-
when news comes to you,
Right. Is it
then don't repeat it unless...
First, no, ask 3 questions before you repeat it. Is it true?
Okay, yeah.
Is it kind? Almost never.
Never.
Is it necessary? Extreme examples only.
That's great advice, man. It really is. That's brilliant advice. So Shaq, another solution, or what I see as a solution to stopping this cancel culture, is understanding the fact that the universality of human beings. There's 8 billion of us, like I said before, right? When I travel, I've traveled to, every region of the world, basically, right? When I go to every country, I see parents that are looking out for their children, right? I see children who want a better future, right? I see businesses that want to succeed. I see human factors that are universal. We all want the same thing, even in terms of faith, right? I was in a temple in Kyoto, in the mountains of Kyoto in Japan. You love amazing place, right? Incredible. Go to Kyoto if you haven't been. So I'm in the temple and they're practicing something that's unfamiliar with me, right? But I'm not going to be ignorant and be like, oh, they're weirdos. It's like, no, they're doing their goal is the same as mine, which is to have faith, right? To have a connection with the superior being. So, why would I sit there and cancel them and say, oh, those Japanese are weirdos because they're not like me?
So the thing is, what you're basically saying is we all have the same goal in mind. We just have different ways of achieving it. Exactly. And there is no right or wrong. I always go back to perspective. It's just a perspective. And if someone's perspective is different than you, that doesn't give you the right to cancel them.
Yeah. Now, I disagree. Meaning, I think there is right and wrong. There is clear right and wrong. Yeah, exactly. So I would say this, like life is very little black and white.
Yes.
There's little black and white. It's mostly gray, right? But there is a clear good and evil, right? Meaning, dropping bombs on children's heads. That's a clear evil.
I have a line, and those 2 lines are, number 1, genocide, and number 2, sexual crimes. Everything else, I can forgive.
Yeah, so those things are inexcusable.
Those are inexcusable.
Yeah, those are completely inexcusable. So we're not out here saying that there's no right or wrong. There is a good and evil, obviously, right? But, there's a lot of gray. It's 99%, 98% gray. 1% clear good, 1% clear evil, 98% gray, right? And so it all depends on perspective, culture, background, nuance. There's a lot. And that's the problem with, TikTok culture, and you have 10 seconds to make a call on somebody on their entire life like that.
Shouldn't do.
Right? Like I said, 100 good things, 1,000,000 good things they did throughout their life. Maybe they're great in many areas of their life. They made one shitty decision. And now you're just ready to cancel their entire existence because of that, right? We don't want to do that, guys. We got to stop this nonsense, this madness. It's ridiculous. We got to stop canceling people. Let's go back to being moral, good people who understand that when we get news, we don't share it, right? Or bad news about people. Don't be that person that's constantly sharing gossip online. Don't be that person.
One last thing before we end here. If you ever meet someone really pious, they never cancel anybody.
They'll never talk about people.
They'll never talk about people. Never. And you could bring the devil himself in front of them, and they will just treat these people with kindness. Bottom line.
And that's what we want to be. And that's what Chasing 100 is all about, guys. Living our best lives. And that requires us to clean our hearts and genuinely be great people. 1,000%. Right? That's the goal. Guys, thank you so much for watching. That's our episode.
Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.